Hello, fellow Vermonters, and welcome to those of you visiting the state that we here love. We have wonderful small businesses all across the state, including in our beloved state capital in downtown Montpelier. And I've met with dozens of owners in Montpelier, and I know that this time of year is absolutely essential for those retail, restaurant, and service providers. So bring a friend to dine and to shop downtown. It's sure to lift your spirits and certainly the spirits of those serving our community by creating a vibrant local economy. Happy holidays to you and yours.
Hi, this is Pat McDonald, your host for Banter and Beans, where our tagline is What's Brewing in Montpelier. And joining me today is Katie Trouts, who is the Executive Director for Montpelier Alive, who is truly keeping Montpelier alive. You are amazing. May I just tell you on video, I am so impressed with your energy and your just what you think of to do to bring people downtown. Katie's been helping me pull the businesses together to do these videos because we need you to support our businesses here in Montpelier and to come down and keep them busy. And maybe you could talk a little bit about the group that you work with. They're so tight, Katie. Mm-hmm. It's very impressive how they support each other.
Absolutely. Well, it's been a big year, that's for sure. Right. And years before, if we think about what these businesses have been through in the last decade. For sure. We're talking about Irene first, and then the COVID pandemic, and then now recovering from the 2023 flood and the anxiety of all of this happening again.
Right.
So Montpelier Alive has supported the business community throughout. And we host a Montpelier Business Association, and you're talking a lot about these businesses and how tight they are. They come together monthly and discuss different topics of interest and challenges that they have. And through all of these events that I just listed and these disasters and crises, I think they've come much closer to one another. Right. And realized that it really takes an entire business community to recover and uplift the community as a whole. Each and every one is so essential to the picture, and that connection has grown and strengthened, and that's helped them a lot.
I've done a couple of shows with businesses that do not have storefronts, and I was blown away by the number of businesses that are on the second and third floor that you don't really know are there. And I mean, it's huge here. It's fabulous, the services and the products that they offer.
Yeah, we have over 350 businesses
Wow.
that we know of that are in our directory at montpelieralive.com. We have a business directory. But we think there are many more than that even. These are just folks who have signed up to be in our directory. And we know at least 100, 150 are ground level, first floor businesses. So it's pretty expansive for such a compact downtown. For sure.
Well, and it's such a beautiful downtown, really.
Yeah.
I was blown away by where the water reached this time. I was here in the 92 flood. Mm-hmm. I was working for state government, and it was really confined to downtown, but this flood was just, I mean, everywhere. When you had an aerial view on your website, it blew me away what these people have had to deal with.
Yeah.
And not just here, obviously, but in Barrie and in many other places.
Yeah, the way that the landscape works and how Barrie and Montpelier and many small Vermont towns are situated, it's almost like a bathtub. That not only do you have water running down the mountains, but it's also filling up. Right. And it is incredible how those waters rose during this previous flood. Is just devastating.
To lose all that in 2 seconds and it's gone. I have to congratulate you. This is the 25th anniversary of Montpelier Alive. That's a long time, and thank you for that.
Yeah, I mean, my time with Montpelier Alive has been very short, but it does have a rich background and a long history, a quarter of a century old, and
That's
I'm just
great.
so lucky to come into it at this time.
Well, thank goodness, because your
despite
energy,
the challenges.
yeah. Well, you were able to raise so much money, and everybody that was here doing the show commented about how many volunteers came forward from not just here but everywhere. They
Yeah.
came to help total strangers, just help.
Yeah, and that's the community at work. There were
Yeah.
so many hands and minds and hearts involved with that emergency response effort. And then the fundraising too, I have to acknowledge that, we partnered with the Montpelier Foundation. There were a lot of
Right.
people in the mix who worked so hard to bring Montpelier back.
Right, that's great. I know you've been working very hard on a lot of fun things to do going forward over the holidays. Could you talk a little bit about some of those things to get people to come downtown?
Absolutely. We have noticed at Montpelier Live that a big piece of the recovery from the flood at this point out has to do with marketing Montpelier as a place to come back to. We are open for business. We still host fabulous events in the downtown, and most of the stores have reopened, and there's new business coming into town. So there's a lot to acknowledge and celebrate. Upcoming, we have this incredible event that has been almost 2 years in the planning, even pre-flood.
Oh.
We started planning for this event and this project, which is the Bridge Illumination Project. We have 7 bridges in the downtown that we have, with a professional lighting company, put illuminations on.
Oh.
And not just your typical Christmas lights, but lighting designs that really fit the historic nature of the bridges and the architecture. And what we feel like is this will be very transformational for the visitation, especially during the slow winter months.
Right.
That we hope that this will be a spectacle that people both in-state and out-of-state will want to come see and make
Nice.
Montpelier a real winter destination. We don't have a ski mountain, we're not like Stowe, but we could claim this as one of our resilience projects that really speaks to where we're at in that recovery period.
Oh, that's great. Do you have a date for that? Or
So the event is the bridge lighting ceremony where we turn all the lights on at once. And that's November 16th, upcoming next weekend. And we have a lantern parade where community members have been working hard at making lanterns. And it's going to be dark by 4:30 p.m.
I love it.
So we gather on the Langdon Street Bridge. And we have a few speakers coming, including Senator Welch and also Ann Watson and our current mayor, Jack McCullough. And then a band that'll be playing and the lantern parade, and it culminates with fire spinning at the Taylor Street Bridge.
Oh, I'm so excited.
It's really a big event, and I think it marks a new chapter for this town, and hopefully will put us back on the map in the broader sense. Following that is also our traditional Flannel Friday.
Oh, I love that.
It's like Black Friday sales
right.
and a lot of activity downtown, horse-drawn wagon rides the next day. We think December is going to be great for events.
Good.
We're planning something every weekend.
And how does it get advertised for people so they know? I'm sure the Bridge must have it, and the World, and
yes, all the local
papers.
publications. But our website is a great resource. We often will put a banner on the homepage that announces the upcoming event and takes you to the page for that event. And that's montpelieralive.com.
That's great. Excellent. No, because I know when I was at your office, you were talking about all these things, because it's so important for people to come down and get that activity feeling going again, the excitement. Because you don't know how much they're still struggling. And it looks like it's open, and it is, and the service is where it should be, but there's still a lot of troubles and problems to deal with behind the scenes. You know?
It's a small community, 8,000 residents year round, and it's not quite enough to support the businesses and the restaurants, especially as people tighten their belts in this economy. People are spending less money, and then the businesses have to continue their economic recovery from the last few years. back to COVID. And it's really essential and I think very key to our progress in recovery from the flooding and COVID that people shop local and that they keep those dollars in the community.
Right. Well, and especially, I've said this, I think, quite a bit. I'm probably repeating myself too much. The fourth quarter of every year is very important because they've got to have enough money during that quarter to get through the slower quarter, January, February, March. And I never thought of something like that, but I don't shop in January, February, because I've already spent all my money in December. And it's important that people have that extra cash to get through. We've lost a few businesses, haven't we?
We have, and that's in part because maybe those businesses couldn't open for that fourth quarter last year.
Right.
And so they didn't have that revenue stream to get them through that slow first quarter.
Right.
So we're seeing those actual results now.
Yeah.
I think we had about 10 businesses close after the flood.
That's a lot for a small town like
It
this.
is. Yeah.
But as you said, others are coming in.
Yep.
And I've heard a couple of names the last couple of weeks of, I haven't been there. What is that? And so we have to pay attention to what's happening here.
Yeah,
good.
we do have a handful of businesses that have reopened. And from the seat of Montpelier Alive, I get a lot of inquiries for people who are looking to open business. And now is actually a good time for that, considering we have some empty storefronts that are in prime locations.
Right, excellent. Okay, I really appreciate all the work you're doing. Is there any final message that you'd like to leave with the folks who are watching us?
I think this is a wonderful opportunity and a wonderful series to focus on those businesses, to hear their stories, and to connect with business owners. Many of our businesses in Montpelier are run by the owner, and they're there every day, and they're just making ends meet, and they're doing it out of passion, and it's really important to know who's behind the scenes.
You know what's fun to listen to when they're talking about their business? Every one of them is so, as you said, passionate. You could hear it in their voice when they're talking about what they do. And it's like, it's contagious. I go home every night, I'm like, wow, this is so cool.
Absolutely.
Anyway, it's a great town. Hi, I'm just going to ask Katie to sort of wrap up what we've seen today, the businesses that you've heard from, the stories that they've had to tell. Katie, what would you like to leave our viewers with?
Well, I'm just so glad for this opportunity to highlight Montpelier and the downtown and our recovery from the flood and the challenges of the previous years. And I just want to encourage everybody to shop local this holiday season, enjoy our downtown, visit with the business owners. And again, thank you, Pat, for doing this series.
My pleasure. It was great. And thank you for all the work you do. Happy anniversary, 25 years. That's great. We'll see you. Thank you very much. Hi, this is Pat McDonald, your host for Banter and Beans, where our tagline is What's New in Montpelier? And joining me in studio is Wendy Halley, who's from Lucid Wellness. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Pat. It's
Great
nice to be here.
Thank you. Nice to meet you. It's so fun to doing these interviews because there are so many stores I don't even know are here in town, which is the purpose of what we're doing.
Mine is one of those that most people don't know about.
Yeah, well, please, first of all, tell us about yourself, but then also talk about your store.
Yeah, it's, well, I am a longtime mental health clinician, and I also do I have an alternative wellness center, so I approach things a little bit differently than your traditional psychotherapist. I have a long-time indigenous-based healing practice. Basically, I'm dreaming for people while I'm awake. They're healing dreams, and it's really old medicine, and it's very interesting. My life is interesting because of those doors opening for me. A long time ago, I started having spontaneous visionary experiences not long after graduate school, and thought I was delusional for a bit. But I'm very high functioning because I was seeing and hearing things that weren't there. I was very much awake and having
Very
these experiences.
sensitive to what's around you, obviously.
Apparently, yeah. But anyway, that all unfolded, and it's made for quite a magical experience because the nature of reality to me is very different than probably most people.
So can you kind of explain a little bit more in detail? I mean, about that approach that you use, and I'm sort of struggling with what, because I have been to the traditional
Talk therapist.
talk therapist,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, and that's very nice and
Yeah.
effective. This approach to healing it's called shamanism. That's the word we use now to describe
Yeah.
this practice. It's every culture comes from a shamanic tradition if we go back
Right.
far enough. So basically, it's the practitioner goes into an altered state of consciousness. There's different ways of getting in there. I use sound, and then we connect with the dreaming or the essence of the person who's our client, and then with the help of other invisible friends who actually do the healing work.
and may I ask you, what is the patient doing while
They're
you're
laying there,
laying there?
or
Okay.
in a remote session, they're
Okay.
being quiet. On their-
Hopefully eyes
yeah.
closed and just relaxed. And,
Yeah. Some people like to watch what I'm doing because I think they're curious, but
Oh.
yeah, which is a little unnerving, but
Oh, maybe but I bet they're
because I'm in an altered state,
Yeah.
so I'm half there and half
How
not.
did you learn that you had this skill and this?
That's a long
This
story.
is fascinating. Yeah, I know, but we have.
I'm a weirdo. I understand that, but it's like I've come to terms with it. So yeah, I have a foot in these two different worlds:
Yeah.
the clinical world and then the Dreamtime world. And
And what do you do with certain people that I bet I dream, but I don't remember it? I absolutely don't remember dreaming ever.
well, I think it's tricky, right? I think
It's there,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Most of us are dreaming unless you have a sleep disorder and you're not getting through the stages of sleep accurately or the way you're supposed to. But most of us, I think it's complicated. Depends on the person. It could be hormonal, so it could be physiological. It could be just that you're somebody who just can't remember because you sleep so deeply, unless you're awakened during a dream cycle,
Right.
and then you can recall it right then.
Interesting.
It's very tricky.
Yeah, because I've always envied people saying, and do you want to hear the dream I had last night? And they'll talk about it.
People
and,
love to talk
I'm
about
like,
their dreams. Yeah.
Nope, nothing.
I got
Just
nothing.
black.
But so yeah, in general, I don't know if that explains it enough.
Yeah.
I mean, I studied it. I studied basically from the Hawaiian tradition, wisdom tradition, and the Hawaiian elder who was kind of mentoring my teachers really encouraged us to share the information. He wanted people to know about these ancient traditions and to share the knowledge.
That's great.
Yeah, so, but the reason why I opened my wellness center is for something completely different than those things.
What?
So I do talk therapy
Yeah.
a little bit, and I do shamanic healing sessions. It's not something you do a lot of. And then I opened the wellness center in 2014 on State Street, across from the Capitol Plaza Hotel, because I had purchased a giant sound and light energy therapy chamber.
Oh.
It's a big wooden chamber. And so I lost, in the flood, I lost
Right.
the chamber that I had. And
What
And
did
with-
that do?
it basically, it puts you into an extremely deep, relaxed state. And then the whole concept of it, it's working with frequency, right? So you have the
right.
frequency of the music, there's sound and light. So there's music is,
Yep.
is the sound. And then light, there's color, it's color therapy basically. So the frequency of the different colors of light. And those combined create a resonance, your body entrains to that resonance, and then it starts dropping down into relaxation. And then, because all the tension, it kind of relaxes
sounds
in
great
your body.
already.
I know. I just had a session today. So mental, emotional, physical tension chills out, and then your body can go and do what it normally would do when it's not managing all that stress and tension in
Wow.
our bodies. It can start healing, so it can address inflammation and different imbalances. It's basically bringing your body more into harmony. And I now have a giant egg. It's called the harmonic egg. That's the new one. I got to replace the old one that I lost, and I had been wanting this one for years.
Well, that's got, in my mind, it's got some birth and rebirth. And
Exactly.
The symbol of the egg, right?
It's all wooden too.
Yeah. Oh,
So it's like getting inside of a giant musical instrument. So it's like you're inside of a cello or a grand piano, and you're
Yeah.
resonating with the frequencies of the music.
oh dear. I
It's
think we should do the whole show on this. Why are we here? This is great. So, but tell people where you are, because you don't have a storefront. It's up.
not
it's
anymore.
up-
No, I moved after the flood.
Yeah.
I moved to the former TD Bank building
Yep.
at the corner of State and Main
Yeah.
on the 3rd floor, and it's a lovely space.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it really is. And that's where I have a soundproof room with the giant egg in it.
Oh wow.
And yeah, it's pretty dreamy, and it's just weird, but it's so hard to describe the experience of being in there too. It's quite ineffable. It's like there's no words to describe.
So your former place was just wiped out from.
Yeah. As I mentioned before we started recording, the only thing I was able to save was a wall divider, a solid wood one. I was able to clean that up, but everything else got
Awful.
wiped out. Yeah. Yup, it all went on the curb.
But you're sort of back now. Same amount of traffic, or it's still not?
No,
Because- Are you back?
Yeah, I'm back. I opened in February, mid-February. It took a while to find a new space. I had been looking for a new space for a while because storefront rent was just really hard for me as a solo person, and I just couldn't generate enough revenue to be able to
Yep.
feel at ease. So I just used the flood as a reason to really look
Right.
hard for a new space, and so we did eventually. I did eventually find one, and since I've opened, people seem to be responding to the egg really nicely.
Yeah. Well, it just conjures up all kinds of. As I was just saying, like rebirth and new and.
Yeah, though people call it, it's very womb-like. It's very
Yeah.
feminine because there's no corners in it. Just the sound
just
just keeps building, and you can't the experience of the sound in there is that it's like you're in it. It's not.
Wow.
It's not on the right or left. It's just it's everywhere. It's like you're inside the music.
So your customers have come back and.
Yeah, they seem to really like it.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I sure do.
Because I know a lot of the people, particularly on the storefront, they haven't seen the traffic of people coming
know.
back, and it's really hard.
know.
And I know, as we were talking before, Montpelier Alive is celebrating its 25th anniversary this year, and they're trying so hard to get people to come back and, hey, we're open, come and see us.
I know it's been strangely quiet and disturbingly quiet downtown.
right.
Yeah,
And
except
this
when
is-
there's an eclipse, apparently.
Yeah, then they come from all over. That was so. We just sat in our
That was wild.
backyard. We had the greatest view. So I sat with my chicken wings and my wine, and I was very happy.
Chicken wings and wine.
Yeah, I
there you
know,
go.
that's
The
my
breakfast
two
of champions.
Exactly. So, so you moved. Were you able, because of that scenario, able to get any help from for relocating from the FEMA or whoever?
Well,
the
not
state,
FEMA.
SBA or
Yeah. I had to get a disaster loan, but I did get grant money from the state
oh, good.
through the BGAP program, and then also Montpelier Alive. I got grants through Montpelier Strong, and then a Rise and Thrive grant for women business owners affected by the flood. And then also GoFundMe. My clients
nice.
really helped.
Nice.
My egg is wicked expensive, so that's why I had to take out a disaster loan to make up the difference, so I
Right.
could get back open again.
There were a lot of people that were shut out of that because they had taken out a loan for COVID, to get through COVID.
Oh, no kidding.
And so
Oh, man.
they didn't want to do two, which made it even harder. But it was also hard, I think, to find, we were talking about employees, to find people to do the work, to get like the flooring. There's only a few people that did flooring.
Yeah, well,
And
since
you had to
COVID,
wait.
the trades have been crazy busy.
Yeah.
My husband's a builder, and he's been, they've been flat out.
Oh, that's sort of good. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, no, it is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your practice, it's back, and you're planning on expanding or bringing on other people? Are there other people that do what you do?
I don't.
No competition.
Well, I mean, there are definitely other shamanic practitioners in Vermont. Yeah, that's a thing, and certainly there's plenty of psychotherapists.
Yeah,
a lot
right.
of them are full up.
Okay.
But I'm not doing a lot of psychotherapy these days, like I was saying. And I'm a one-person show there.
Wow.
I don't because I'm doing all of the work. There's no work for
Right.
anybody else to
Right,
do
right.
because I'm mostly providing a
Right.
service.
Well, it sounds like a lot of training and a lot of stuff. You just can't walk in and do it.
That's
Yeah,
right.
I
Yeah,
would
yeah.
think.
I trained for a long time
Yeah.
to learn how to do the shamanic
How
stuff.
did, I'm back to. I'm sorry. I'm supposed to be asking you other questions. But how did you know to translate all of that to what you do now? I mean, how did you take that skill or whatever you would call it and turn it into something so, was the word magical? I don't know.
I would use the word magical.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say a byproduct of having a shamanic practice is a heightened intuition.
And that comes from the word shaman, correct? Because I think, or is that a base for it, or?
No,
Because that's what it sounded like when you first said that. I think a lot of people know the word shaman.
yeah,
who's-
it's actually I believe it's a Siberian word
Oh,
that
cool.
that describes a medicine person, like
Yeah.
a medicine man or a medicine woman, or. But
excellent.
that's just the word we use universally now
Oh, okay.
to describe. They're called different things in different cultures.
that's great. So
So-
Montpelier, you're going to stay here? You love it?
I love Montpelier.
Yeah.
I when I decided to open the wellness center back in 2013, I was determined to make it Montpelier, and I'm really glad. I love being downtown.
It's getting there slowly, coming back to the way it used to be.
Yeah.
I hope.
Yeah.
It may never be as it was, but it's certainly going to hope come close because the people are great. And I've noticed with businesses like yourself, everybody seems to support each other. They know each other, and it's a real group here, family, I guess.
Yeah, the retail group is
Yeah.
especially tight.
Yeah.
They're communicating a lot. I'm service based, so I feel a little bit more on the outside of that, but
Well, but you're still part of the.
I'm still part of it, yeah.
An
I'm
aunt or
still-
uncle
I'm s-
maybe, but you're still part of
I'm
the.
still part of it. Yeah.
And so you're looking. Is it something you can grow?
Well,
certainly education would be something you'd
Yeah.
educate people on what you do.
Speaking of which, I should say, is I just created an online course
Oh.
for people to learn how to dream while they're awake on their own.
That sounds like for me. I'd like to know what I dream.
But you dream while you're awake. So it's basically an introductory shamanic course for people, and it's just they can do it at their own pace. And I tried to streamline it as much as possible and pack it with a bunch of really great wisdom, tradition, information, the Hawaiian
And how do
philosophies.
people get access to this?
On my website,
Which is?
lucidpathwellness.com.
There you go, lucidpathwellness.com. Very nice.
I also have a podcast, so that's another thing that I
Oh,
do
excellent.
to reach out to folks.
Great. Because I would think people, like, you need the time to talk about it, because I'm getting very interested, but it wasn't, hi, how are you, this is what I do. And I would be left with an awful lot of questions, about what?
Yeah.
What is it? So you have to have time to talk to people and explain to them. Or word of mouth, that's a good one.
Yep, word of mouth is definitely the
yeah.
Vermont way.
So have you seen people feeling better about Vermont? And I'm hoping that they've been paying attention to what people need from a structure perspective to maybe if we ever have this happen again, God forbid, that it doesn't quite have the same impact.
You're talking about a natural disaster.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, I think people are still kind of in recovery mode. I mean, the stress level has been so high. But I don't know. I don't know how, in general. I mean, I just know the people who've been impacted, who've come to see me, that they're getting back on their feet. But it's been a tough haul with the COVID.
I got very involved in this, and was when I was on the radio. Somebody had told me that the last quarter of every year, mostly for businesses, that's when you make the most money to get you through the first quarter of the next year, maybe this doesn't impact your business, but retail, people don't buy in January, February because you just spent your entire savings on the holidays.
Right.
And so a business needs money in the last quarter of a year to get through the first quarter, and they're very concerned that a lot of businesses won't make it or didn't make it and thinking of closing. And I've heard
I've heard
some
that
are
too.
really struggling.
Some of them are closing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you need people to come downtown.
Yes, we
and-
need people
and-
downtown, please. Yeah. I mean, there's so many lovely restaurants and,
Yeah.
and retail shops.
Right. And I made a commitment to myself that I try to buy locally at holidays without going, on the internet, that I try to buy. I think you can find anything you want or need in downtown, and why not? Because that's what
Really
people need.
creative stuff too,
Yeah.
like surprisingly cool stuff. Yeah.
Right. That is great. I think that I know, did you have a lot of help with maybe getting things straightened out for yourself, or did you have to move by yourself? I know a couple of the store owners, people came in and really volunteered and helped.
Yeah. No, I had
Did you?
lovely people come and
Yeah.
help me. Yeah. Friends and sometimes strangers, and yeah.
Yeah. I know Katie told me she was blown away by the people that just came from everywhere to help.
That makes two of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was blown away too. No,
Yeah.
it was really humbling and heartening.
That's great.
Yeah.
So looking ahead, what you're hoping for the future for your business, your service, and this town?
My hope for myself is to. I have a new book coming out next year.
Ooh.
I'm hopeful for. I do many things. I'm
Back up on that one. What's
weird,
the book about?
weirdly driven.
That's great.
It's a book of fiction. It's basically a speculative fiction book, partially fantasy with near future sci-fi, and it's
Awesome.
about a mind virus of deception.
Mind virus of deception.
Yeah. Yep.
I could think, well, my mind gets taken over and everything I see is not necessarily real.
Yeah. Well, or just that our relationship with the truth.
Oh,
It examines humans' relationship with the truth.
interesting. Oh, lovely.
Yeah, and it's called Raven's Daughter, and I'm hoping to release it next spring.
Excellent.
And so that's one of my big hopes. And of course, I hope that people are interested in learning about shamanism and want to do the online course and listen to the podcast and come and check out the egg.
That's
and
great.
yeah, I'm
Very, very unique.
strangely driven. I am,
Excellent.
and then for the town itself, I would be heartbroken if it
Yeah.
became like a ghost town. I
Right.
mean, it would be,
Because besides COVID, they had the big summer flood, and then after that, it's like, give these people a break,
I know,
please.
I know. Mother
Yeah.
Nature, she's not happy.
No, something.
We're out of balance,
Yeah.
and I think that's
We have to pay attention. Thank you very much, Wendy, for coming on the show. I loved it. I'm going to have to do my own investigating. Thank you all very much for tuning in. This is Pat McDonald, your host for Banter and Beans. See you soon. Hi, it's Pat McDonald, your host for Banter and Beans, where we ask the question, what's brewing in Montpelier? And joining me in the studio is Lauren Andrews, who is the owner of Capital Cannabis and Aro-Med Essential. Sorry about that.
People mess that up. It's Aro-Med is supposed to be short for aromatic medicine.
Right. Always
And
going for
I thought I was being very clever, but it kind of
That'll
confuses
fix ya.
people. Well, that's kind of funny because when I was thinking about what to name Capital Cannabis, I had all these different names, and I decided it's going to be really clear what I'm selling and where I'm selling
Right,
it.
just say it.
Capital Cannabis Company,
There
and
you
nobody
go.
messes that up.
But the aromatics.
Aro-Med.
Aro-Med.
Yeah.
I know what that is too. I mean, it's the smells, and we have to talk about that because
Yeah.
that's it. Well, anyway, welcome to the
Oh,
show.
thank you.
This is great. I'm very excited because you're talking to a total novice. So I don't know much. I looked at the website, which is you have so many products.
Yeah, we do.
I mean, seriously.
Yeah, in fact, Capital Cannabis we have the largest menu in the state.
Really?
And all of the products are very carefully vetted.
That's great.
And we have a wide range of prices and wide range of different types of products. So there's something for everyone.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, let's just sort of start from the beginning.
Sure.
You picked Montpelier because,
Well, I've lived in this community ever since I was a teenager. I won't tell you how many decades
No, we'll skip
ago
over that.
I was a teenager. But yeah, this area, this is my home. And I lived in East Montpelier for a long, long time. Even prior to getting into plant medicine, I'd worked for many years as a psychiatric nurse in different medical settings. And it wasn't until actually, we talk about floods. Floods have impacted me a couple of different times. I don't know if you remember Tropical Storm Irene.
oh, I do.
And I was a charge nurse in this psychosocial rehab unit at the Vermont State Hospital in Waterbury. And I loved it. And it was pretty devastating when this hospital had to close, and I ended up losing my position there
Wow,
because
'cause
I had
of
no
the-
place to work.
Right.
But it was during that period of time at the state hospital that I was introduced to aromatherapy.
Yeah.
And I'm a very much a Western medicine person, and I wasn't that into plant medicine at that point. And once I started, I had an opportunity to start an aromatherapy program after I learned more about it
Yeah.
at Central Vermont Medical Center on the psychiatric unit there. And the patients were having such amazing benefits from the plant oils that it really changed the trajectory of my professional
Interesting.
life.
What does the smell, what does it do to people? Just
Well,
calm them down, or?
It depends on what you're smelling. There are certain aromas that, and this is all, it's psychological to a degree, of course. Where your mind goes, your body will follow.
Right.
But there are physiological changes that happen when you inhale certain things. There are certain plant substances, chemicals that will elicit certain reactions in your body. Like an example, of course, is lavender, right? People have been
Right.
inhaling lavender
Right.
since the beginning of time. And we might not have understood the science behind lavender, decades ago. But when we look at the science, lavender is full of linalool and linalool acetate, for example. These are chemical constituents that when you breathe them, they affect your nervous system and cause you to calm down. Your heart rate goes down. Your respiratory rate goes down, right?
Wow.
For some people, it will sedate them. So it's very common for people to use lavender for sleep
Yep.
or for anxiety reduction.
Right.
And it's all science-based. And I got so turned on by the science around plant medicine and terpenes and things like that, that it went from the aromatherapy business that I started about 10 years ago. Then that morphed into cannabis medicine.
Interesting.
And so, yeah,
Well-
helps a lot of people.
Well, if you can talk a little bit, because you said you've got staff who's very knowledgeable.
Yes.
How did you learn all of this? I mean, because you're looking
Yeah.
at your website, it goes on forever.
Yeah.
And it's edibles, it's smoking, I don't even know
Vape
half of what
cartridge.
you
Yeah,
do.
it goes.
Yeah.
We have all these different classifications of cannabis that you can use in forms that work for you. Some people
Right.
like to smoke. Some people don't want to smoke. I'm
Yeah.
not a big smoker. I prefer edibles. I really started using edibles when I was going through menopause to help me sleep. And it really changed my life. That's when I really sort of became really enamored with cannabis medicine because
Yep.
I saw how powerfully it had helped me during a very difficult phase of my life.
Yeah.
And so there are all different avenues for getting cannabis into your body. Some people prefer edibles. Some people like to smoke. Some people like to use vape cartridges. Some people use concentrates that they inhale. Some people use topicals for pain reduction. So there's something for everyone. And one thing I really like, one thing that's very important to our mission at both Capital Cannabis and Aro-Med Essentials is that when people come into the store looking for advice on what's going to work for them, that everything that we do is evidence-based. So to answer your question around education, with aromatherapy, I've studied with the top aromatherapists in the world.
Wow.
Multiple hundreds of hours of training and
Really?
internships and things like that. And with cannabis, when I started getting into CBD, I understood that I needed to know more, and entered into the University of Vermont. They have a cannabis science and medicine certification program.
Yeah.
I had to go back to college, which was really difficult.
Yeah, that's hard.
It was for me.
Yeah.
It was all online, which is a harder way for me to learn. But I did that program just to make sure that as I move forward in the cannabis world, that I was coming from a place of real knowledge and education. And several of my staff have also gotten
That's great.
educated through University of Vermont.
I have so many questions. So this is probably very stupid because I told you I'm not. Is CBD cannabis?
It is.
It is. It's a.
It's like the
type of
cousin.
cannabis?
Yeah, we can kind of call it the cousin of.
Oh, okay.
But it is cannabis sativa, just like the more intoxicating cannabis that you would get at Capital Cannabis. Aro-Med Essentials, we sell just primarily CBD, which is not intoxicating at all. But it can help with anxiety reduction, pain reduction. CBD can be very helpful for helping a lot of chronic issues like irritable bowel syndrome, fibromyalgia, migraines. It's a very powerfully effective plant medicine.
And how do you know what's too much is, I mean, what amount to take? Because
Yeah.
I'm not exactly a tiny person, so does that mean you take more or less, or you just sort of, how do you start with me to say, well, try this? And
It's a good question.
Yeah.
It's a really good question. And then everybody's different.
Right,
And
that's what I'm
there's simply no right answer
Yeah.
to that. For anybody new to cannabis, and we get a lot of people like in our age range that they're dealing with certain medical issues. They don't necessarily want to lean on pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
And there are times and places for pharmaceuticals. I don't want to come off like I'm completely anti pharmaceutical, because there's a time and place for that too. When you need an antibiotic, you need an antibiotic.
Right.
When you need an antidepressant,
Right. You need it.
you need it.
Yeah.
You know, but what's nice about cannabis is that for people like who don't want to take Ambien for sleep, they'll come see me. They've never tried cannabis before, and we will start them off with something that's very low dose, and we'll teach people to start with cannabis, particularly people who are new to it, to start low. We call it low and slow, right? I'm not going to, somebody new like you coming in, I'm not going to say, here, take 10 milligrams of that. That would work for me,
Right.
but I have a tolerance. I've been,
Yeah.
I would start them maybe on 1 or 2 milligrams, maybe 3, maybe 5,
Right.
But you start people low and then they have that experience. And if that particular product doesn't work for them, then maybe there's something else that can work for them.
Right. And you walk them through this and talk to them and, interesting.
Yeah.
That's great.
And my staff are just as qualified as I am to have
right.
these
That's
conversations too. And we
Is-
have, 200 to 300 people a day that walk into Capital
Wow,
Cannabis.
really?
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
great.
we know our stuff, and they know they're going to get the right information, and they're going to get high quality products there.
Now you got hit by the flood, big time, right?
Yeah.
Right. What happened to all your products and stuff? Did you lose everything? How did you manage to
That's
get
a
back?
good question. It was tricky for me because cannabis, not the Aro-Med essential side, because CBD, there's not enough, as much regulatory limitations around that.
Yep.
But I remember when Governor Scott basically said it's coming. I don't remember if it was Sunday night, Monday. It's all a blur, really. But when he said that to plan for this flood,
Right.
I immediately got in touch with the Cannabis Control Board, and they do all of the regulatory oversight of cannabis businesses in the state. And I basically got permission very quickly. Oh, sorry, lower the microphone. I got permission very quickly to be able to move the cannabis to another licensed facility. You can't just move cannabis anywhere.
Right.
It has to go
Wow.
someplace licensed. So I gathered the troops. We moved everything into the
Oh,
back
thank
of a
goodness.
U-Haul,
And off you
and we
went.
moved it to a licensed facility in another town. And we were able to get most of the cannabis product out, but we couldn't get it all out. Like, we couldn't clean the refrigerators or freezers out because as we were getting ready to pull out, the water was coming over into the back parking lot. And for our own safety, we just
for sure.
we got the hell out, you
Wow.
know. And Aro-Med Essentials, we elevated everything. And in spite of that, we lost
Yeah.
at least a third of our product.
Oh, my word, Lauren.
Yeah, it was heartbreaking
How
going in
devastating
the
for you
following
all.
day. It
Yeah.
was,
So
Yeah.
how did you manage to get back? And are the same amount of people still coming in? Because a lot of stores are not seeing the volume of people, and they're just not coming.
it can be disheartening. I think just because of what I sell,
Yeah,
I'm okay. I bounced back.
yeah,
But I'm not blind to the fact that the foot traffic just doesn't exist like it used to. And I just urge anybody watching it, if you can buy it downtown, buy it downtown.
Right.
I mean, it's just, I think between COVID and the flood, people started becoming habituated to buying things online more. And there's a convenience there. And some people are just willing to make that sacrifice of community versus convenience, and I really urge people, anybody that's listening.
I make a commitment to myself to buy all holiday presents, Christmas presents downtown.
Yeah.
I try very hard not to do what I usually do, I must admit, but I because that's an important time of year for people and for stores to
is. There are
get
a
that
lot of
income coming in now.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, I'm
Yeah,
so
and
sorry. So did you have to like replace the floors and do all the stuff some people had to do?
We had to do everything.
Oh,
We
really?
gutted everything. We had to
Oh.
get everything out. One thing that really saved me and saved my business and allowed me to keep my staff working.
Yep.
That was I was at a point where am I going to have to let all these people go? I had built this incredible team of people,
Right.
And
all
I
the
knew that
training?
if I had to let them go, my competitors would have
Just
snatched
stopped,
them
right.
up, and I just couldn't bear it. And what I was very fortunate that I used to have Aro-Med Essentials. I had a store up at the mall.
Yes, right.
So,
Right.
and I had a great relationship with them. I left on good terms.
Yep.
And then when it was really clear that I was not going to be able to return for a period of time
Yep.
to reopen either of the stores, I approached them, and they had an empty spot right outside of Walmart. And I worked with representatives of the Cannabis Control Board and everybody. We all came together
Nice.
and made a move there possible.
Great.
And within 2.5 weeks of the flood, I was reopened
Good for you.
up there.
Great.
I'm very proud of that. That was a
Yeah,
lot of
really,
work,
well,
but I
and
got a lot
thank
of
you
help.
for that. when I look at what people went through, I think, God bless you, because I'm not sure
Yeah.
I don't know, because how much times can you get knocked on the head? It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah, it was the second time my world was turned upside down
Yeah.
because of a flood. And but thank God we were able to find that
Right.
that transitional spot to pivot to,
Right.
and I was able to keep my staff on board, and we were able to keep both Aro-Med and Capital Cannabis going, and I'm really grateful for that. But I can tell you that every time we have rainstorms now, we've had 3 flood scares since the big flood.
Yep, right.
Like we have standard operating procedures now for my
To move.
businesses. So we know what to do now.
Yeah.
We've gotten rather good at it, which is really sad.
That is, put on your job description.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm very sorry. We've actually run out of time, and I wish I'm going to have you come back and do a longer show. I'm so interested in this. It's fabulous.
I would love to talk to you about plant medicine.
Well, for sure,
So
we
much
will
we could
do
talk
that. And I really thank you for hanging in there with Montpelier. Great people, a lot of volunteers.
Yeah. Yep.
Everybody, they're wonderful.
Yeah.
So thank you very much,
Thank you
Lauren.
so
It's
much.
a pleasure. Thank you for tuning in. This is Pat McDonald, your host for Banter and Beans. Stay tuned. We'll see you soon. Bye.